Well, holy smokes, this is a big old game changer. I haven't seen this one, or I have not expected this to happen. But the leader of Hamas just got KO'd. He was visiting the the new president of Iran, who just got killed in that helicopter accident. I shouldn't say he got killed. That was... The helicopter crash in Iran was supposedly an accident that killed the president of Iran. Now the new president was being inaugurated, or he's about to be inaugurated, and the leader of Hamas is in the capital of Iran, and he has just been killed. Now that is official. He has been taken out. He's been killed. Him and his bodyguard are dead. Reuters is confirming it. Hamas is confirming it. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is confirming it. The leader of Hamas is dead. Now, Israel has been trying to get this guy for as long as I can remember. And this is going to be really interesting because this guy, Ismail Haniyeh, I'm totally going to mess it up. He took power in 2017 from a Khalid Marshal. But what's really interesting is Ismail was actually born in a refugee camp in Gaza. So what's fascinating about that is you could see how somebody who was born in a refugee camp in Gaza in 1962 and had to deal with growing up in Gaza ended up joining to fight in the first Intifada against Israel. This was back the first Palestinian Intifada. This was when essentially you had Palestinians conduct protests, riots, various forms of disobedience against the government, whatever, to protest the Israeli occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. That's when he gained power. So Ismail, he's been around the block for a while. The guy literally was born in a refugee camp in Gaza, and then became the leader of Hamas after many various other political posts, and took over as the de facto leader of Hamas. There isn't really a president of Hamas in 2017. Now, obviously, we know that Hamas is a designated terrorist group, and the leader, this individual, Ismail, he's a big deal in Hamas's strategy for not only negotiating a ceasefire. He's been involved in multiple hostage and ceasefire negotiations. But now the big question is, what's going to happen next? That's the biggest concern, is now you have a power vacuum. Now you don't have a leader of Hamas. Now, obviously, there's an assumption that Hamas probably has some backup leader who's going to take over. Kind of like there's a president, there's a vice president. But here's the problem. This attack happened in Tehran, Iran. Is Iran going to sit by idly if they sniff out that Israel and the United States were involved? And let's just be clear, they were involved. Now, okay, we're assuming they were involved. We are getting news, or we're getting feedback that it looks like there was an Israeli strike specifically at the place where the leader of Hamas was staying in Tehran. So it is believed right now to be an Israeli strike. It was actually just a couple hours ago, and I actually hearted this. I noticed there were a few airspace closures. They call them notices to airmen. They closed the airspace in certain regions, and there was an airspace closure a couple hours ago. I saw it. I'm like, something's going to happen. This is what happened. So it's possible it could have been an F-35 or some form of a fighter jet, just like they did when they've previously struck Baghdad. I mean, it wasn't long ago where they struck and took out other very important political figures, and they lobbed missiles from fighter jets across the border, flying across Iran, Iraq in this case, or actually they flew across Syria to lob missiles into Baghdad, and took somebody else out. So this is not an uncommon strategy. Take a fighter jet, identify a target, launch a missile, and these missiles are really good. A lot of these American missiles, these laser-guided missiles, can actually fly to an area. So they can get launched either as a cruise missile, if you will, from a ship, or a missile from a fighter jet. They can fly to an area, and they can actually circle in the area until they verified their target with, laser identifications or whatever other forms in terms of the building, or just wait for a further confirmation signal, and then the missile can finally strike. Or it can just straight up strike. Plenty of options here. These things are incredibly fast. But anyway, this is very much in retaliation for the strike, the first strike on Israeli territory to claim lives, in this case 12 children's lives, on Israel since the October attacks. The October Hamas attacks were the last time we have seen deaths or attacks on Israeli soil, despite the fact that we've had many, many attacks or rockets lobbed over, and Iron Dome attacks. We just also recently had an attack by a drone against an Israeli apartment building. A few people were critically injured in that strike. But the Phallic 1 rocket or missile that ended up striking a soccer field and killing 12 children was enough for Israel to say, that's it. We are going to now continue our aggressive strikes against all of the leaders we could find of Hamas, wherever they are. So they found the president of Hamas visiting the president, the new president, who was also just, the last president was, died suddenly in a helicopter accident. I'm sure the CIA wasn't involved in that one. I want to quickly speak on that. We don't know how the helicopter crashed, killing the last president of Iran. But let's just be clear. These helicopters are outfitted with instrument flight ratings. They generally have 2 pilots, as this one did. And they don't just crash in the fog. They don't Kobe in the fog, because they actually have instruments and instrument-rated pilots. I'm not trying to be insensitive about Kobe. What happened to Kobe happened 30 minutes, and Kobe was on his way to land at the airport I fly out of all the time. I know the terrain. It sucks. And I feel so terrible for what happened to Kobe, but I'm just saying, in Kobe's situation, you had a non-instrument flight-rated pilot getting disoriented as a solo pilot in the fog, in the marine layer, we call it out here. This accident in Iran where the president of Iran happens to go oopsie-doopsies in a helicopter crash, I personally think the president of Iran was taken out. Now, that's just my opinion, so I could be wrong about that. But now it's quite interesting that upon the inauguration of the next president, you flushed the leader of Hamas out. It's almost like you knew that if you take out the president of Iran, the leader of Hamas is going to have to go to Iran to meet the new president. How freaking convenient. And now we have confirmation that the president, or the leader of Hamas, was killed. This is Hamas confirming it. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is confirming it. Reuters is confirming it. It's on the front page of the New York Times. He's dead. Ismael is gone. And now the question is, what's going to happen next? Are we going to have a power struggle? Is there a contingency plan for a new leader of Hamas? What happens to ceasefire deals? Or worse, what is the international reaction going to be? You literally just had the leader of Turkey, the president of Turkey, suggest that Turkey must be very strong so that, quote, Israel can't do these ridiculous things to Palestine. The leader of Turkey basically implied that they would enter the Gaza Strip just like they entered Libya during the 2020 Libyan civil war. That would substantially escalate this disaster. So again, what happens with ceasefire negotiations? What happens with Hamas? Does Hamas get more aggressive? Are they disoriented? Do they kill hostages? What happens with Hezbollah in Lebanon? Do they send more strikes? What does Iran do? Does Iran launch more cyber attacks? Do they launch more drone attacks? I mean, their drones kind of suck, so I'm not horribly worried about their drone attacks. But again, the leader of Hamas is dead. So I'm trying to get some more details here. So he was targeted in Tehran. No comment yet from Israel on this, but this is breaking news. This is just out. Let's see here. Want to see if I can get some additional information. But again, this it's not uncommon to see these strikes in either Tehran or these strikes in Baghdad. In this case, it was in Iran. A member of the Hamas political bureau has now suggested that the assassination of Ismael is a cowardly act and will not be in vain. He's being called a martyr. I'm also going through some of the Middle Eastern Telegram channels. The Islamic resistant movement Hamas is mourning the death of its leader, Ismael, who died as a result of treacherous Zionist raid on his residence in Tehran after participating in the inauguration ceremony. So it sounds like it may have been after the ceremony. But anyway, a member of his security team has been hit as well. He's also dead. The fact that this occurred in the capital, honestly, is wild, but not uncommon or unexpected. There's been, let's see here. Right now, again, it is believed to be an Israeli strike. From the sources that I'm seeing, it looks like it was probably a fighter jet that launched this in Israel. Or not in Israel, but, you know, an Israeli-launched fighter jet. It's not clear yet, though. It's assumed that the United States and Israel and the CIA or whatever are involved here. Let's see here. Public relations of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in a statement. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. I am God, and to him we shall return. We extend our condolences to the heroic Palestinian people, the Islamic nation, the resistance front fighters, and the honorable Iranian nation. This morning, the residence of Dr. Ismail Haniyeh, head of the political bureau of the Islamic resistance movement Hamas, was held in Tehran. As a result of this incident, he and one of his guards were martyred. They were killed. The causes and dimensions of this accident are being investigated, and the results will be announced later. As a result of this, it does look like we have oil moving up on this. Or not only is oil moving up, almost back up to $80 on Brent. You've got a little bit of a reaction on Bitcoin. Not much, although you did have more of a reaction about an hour ago. I'm not sure if that's when the strike occurred and some assumptions were made in Iran and news spread, but the world has got the breaking news right around here. Although we did have a little bit, again, sell down over here. So sitting at about 66K right now on BTC. And U.S. futures are up for what it's worth. U.S. futures actually up quite decently, doing quite well. And that follows the Microsoft earnings, as well as the AMD earnings. So expect that to continue. Looking for, let's see if I can get some additional insight here. If you look at, for example, the Robinhood 24-hour trading market, Microsoft's down about 2.81 after hours. Doesn't look like there's any kind of movement in the stock there. 4.96 to the upside on NVIDIA and Tesla, for example, since a lot of folks are interested in that one. Actually up 1.46% overnight in the 24-hour market. So no immediate movement in the stock market there regarding concerns. Doesn't look like indices are moving. Oil's moving a bit on this. However, there will be a concern over what the future of this means. 3 martyrs and a number of wounded. This is in Gaza, at a house on Jala Street, west of Gaza Strip. Let's see here. I'm looking for more information. No, okay. So, once again, if you're just now joining, the president of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, has been assassinated. He was born in 1962 on a refugee camp, or in a refugee camp, in Palestine, in the Gaza Strip. And in the 80s, during the first Intifada, rose through the ranks to become promoted. Eventually, in 2017, became the de facto leader of Hamas. And now he's dead. Likely due to an Israeli airstrike, to be determined still. Obviously, the question now is, what kind of reaction are we going to get? Will this be the end of hostilities with Hamas, or will this just be the beginning? 2 ways, obviously, this could go. A few ways this could go. One way is it's easier to form a ceasefire with whatever is left of Hamas. A second way is we're back to where we left off. And a third way is this leads to some form of escalation, which would be the worst case scenario in the conflict in the Middle East. That could potentially be an Iranian response, Hezbollah's response, Hamas's response. This is a major blow for Hamas to lose its political leader and somebody who's also been involved in negotiations. Again, he's been sought for decades, and now he's dead. The expectation is more light will come out on exactly the details of this, and you know what the further reactions and escalations are going to be as a result of this. Obviously, since the strike on the soccer field, following Israel's strike on a school in the Gaza Strip, which was a refugee camp or being used as a refugee camp, Israel said Hamas was there. Hamas and the Palestinian Authority said there were just children there. You ended up having a rocket, a Phallic 1 rocket or missile land on a soccer field in actually the Golan Heights, which technically is not Israel, but Israel, and Trump call it Israel because Trump actually declared it was Israel a few years ago. But the international community has not declared that to be Israel. It's technically part of Syria. But anyway, from that border, from the Syrian, or from the Syrian border, we suspect a Phallic 1 missile was launched to kill 12 Israelis, and now Israel. This is the worst strike since October against Israel, and as a result, Israel is now retaliating everywhere they can, and they have finally found the leader of Hamas, who is now dead. Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching the news here. As always, if you need life insurance, go to metkevin.com/life. You can get life insurance in as little as 5 minutes. And we have a coupon code expiring on the courses on building the wealth tomorrow at meetkevin.com. Looks like, Al Jazeera might have a little more insight on this. Yeah, somebody said inside his apartment. Right. So this is why we expect it was a missile that was launched from a fighter jet or something strong enough to be able to penetrate the actual apartment. But who knows? I mean, the strike could have also been an on-the-ground strike. I think that's much more unlikely, but I suppose more information will come. So it's unclear right now if this target assassination was a missile or if this was some form of, Jason Bourne takeout, sniper takeout, or whatever. That's unclear at this point. I don't see that Al Jazeera has anything more than what we've just covered. So we'll see. So there you have it. All right. Thank you so much for being here.